Late in the afternoon on Sunday, February 23rd, 2003, a 29-year-old woman named Kelly McDermott was making her way home from a weekend trip with her boyfriend. Kelly lived in a small coastal town in southern Maine, and she worked part-time at a bakery. That weekend, she and her boyfriend David had driven up north to spend a couple of days in a rented cabin. According to David, the trip had been good. They'd gone hiking, eaten a lot of good food, and just kind of relaxed. But on the way back home, somewhere along Route 27, Kelly and David got into a heated argument about something trivial. David later told police he couldn't even remember exactly what started it, something about a forgotten gas stop or a misplaced phone charger, but it escalated quickly. At one point, Kelly told David to just pull over so she could get some air. David pulled onto the gravel shoulder, Kelly got out, slammed the door, and told him she was going to walk the rest of the way. The problem was, they were still nearly 3 miles from the nearest town. The road was bordered on both sides by thick forest, and there was no sidewalk, just a narrow strip of gravel and then snow-covered ditch. David said he felt kind of bad and, tried to talk her into getting back in, but Kelly just waved him off and started walking south. So eventually, David drove off. At first, nothing about this seemed too unusual. Kelly was stubborn. If she wanted to walk, she was going to walk. And she was dressed warm, heavy boots, thick coat, scarf. But according to several drivers who passed her between 4:30 and 5 p.m., Kelly didn't seem like she was just walking home. They described her as glancing over her shoulder constantly, almost like she thought someone was behind her. By 6:15, the sun had set, and it was cold. The kind of biting cold where the air hurts your lungs. But Kelly was still out there. A man named Brian, who lived in a cabin off a logging road near Route 27, said that around 6:30 he saw a woman in a heavy coat moving along the road in front of his property. He noticed her because she stopped directly under the single street lamp by his driveway and just stood there for a good 30 seconds before continuing. Brian thought about going outside to check if she was okay, but he didn't. The next morning, around 8 a.m., a plow driver clearing snow along a stretch of Route 27 found something strange. In the fresh snow near the tree line, he saw what looked like a single set of footprints leading away from the road. And then about 50 feet in, the prints just stopped. There were no return tracks, no animal tracks, nothing. Just empty, untouched snow beyond that point. The plow driver got a weird feeling and quickly called it in. When state police arrived, they quickly confirmed that the footprints matched the boots Kelly had been wearing. A search party was formed immediately. They followed the trail into the woods, but the snow was undisturbed after the last print. No drag marks, no depressions, no signs of someone falling through ice or into a ditch. It was like she had simply stepped into the air and vanished. Over the next week, hundreds of volunteers combed the area. They used dogs, drones, and even thermal imaging equipment. Nothing. Not a scrap of clothing, not a piece of jewelry, not even a single hair. It was as though Kelly had never been there at all. And then, about 9 days later, something strange happened. A woman walking her dog in the next town over found a scarf tangled high in the bare branches of a maple tree. It was about 12 feet off the ground. And it wasn't just any scarf. It was Kelly's. Her mother confirmed it by the initials she'd stitched into the corner. What baffled investigators was how it got there. There were no footprints in the snow beneath the tree. No signs anyone had climbed it recently. The scarf was dry, even though it had snowed twice since Kelly went missing. Almost like it had been placed there after the snowstorms. A week after that, Brian, the man who'd seen her standing under the street lamp, came forward with something he'd been holding back. He told police that on the night Kelly disappeared, about an hour after she passed his driveway, he'd gone outside to bring in firewood. As he did, he noticed a faint light flickering in the woods to the west of his property. At first, he thought it was a hunter's flashlight, but it was strange. It wasn't steady. It would blink on and off in irregular bursts, sometimes long, sometimes short, almost like a pattern. And it lasted for about 10 minutes before going completely dark. He hadn't told anyone earlier because he didn't want to sound crazy. Authorities never determined what the light was. Years have gone by since then. Kelly's body has never been found. No one has been charged with anything related to her disappearance. Officially, her case is still open, but it's cold. The only physical evidence ever recovered was that scarf. What's especially unsettling, though, is that in the 20 years since Kelly vanished, there have been at least 4 other reports from drivers along that same stretch of Route 27 claiming to see a woman in a heavy coat walking alone at night. She's always described as glancing over her shoulder, and she always disappears before anyone can stop to help. Police don't officially connect those sightings to Kelly's case, but for the people who live along that road, there's no question who it is.